now let's try to pull together same conversation, but for Derek Carr. Now the difference for me is Derek and Aaron are two completely, totally different quarterbacks. I mean, Aaron is good in his own right. Derek's good in his own right. They're different. Aaron, I think, is way better. I mean, I mean, I don't know. I think Derek for me, falls into the bottom tier of quarterbacks. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm a bad one to judge quarterbacks, I guess, because okay, I respect Brady. Brady's great. Nothing wrong with Brady, but I get irritated when it's like Brady, shoving it down your throat. And I'm like, dude, and then people wonder why people hate Brady. He wins all the time. Media talks about him all the time. So when he's getting shoved down your throat, it's like, okay, well, Derek Carr, I just think is bad. I don't like Derek Carr because he's probably honestly not a good fit anymore in Vegas or with the Raiders.
It's kind of funny you talk about the media. I mean, that happens in every sport. I mean, that's the only reason why I know Wayne Gretzky and Pele, you know? I don't know a lot of soccer and hockey, but I know they are because people talk about them still. So, but I mean, yeah, to your point about Derek Carr, I mean, again, I think Derek Carr gets a lot of excessive flack from a lot of people because, again, you look at the Raiders. That's why I'm saying with Rodgers or Brady, would it work out? Because I don't know if they're built to win a championship, a Super Bowl. They're a team that their defense has a lot of holes and they give up a lot of points. And they're a team that Derek Carr has lost a lot of games 33-30 because of the fact that their defense just could not get that one more stop. And I mean, and Derek Carr's gone through so much turmoil with the Raiders. I mean, they've moved locations. They've had coaching issues. I mean, they had the situation with their wide receiver Henry Ruggs, who's no longer on the team. I mean, it goes on and on. I think there's just been a lot of issues at the Raiders. I don't think all of it's Derek Carr's fault, but obviously since he's the quarterback, and there's been so much coaching turmoil at the Raiders, then Derek Carr does get a lot of the blame. I agree with you. I don't think he's a top-tier quarterback in the NFL, but I don't think he's as bad as a lot of people are now saying that he is. Just a few years ago, people were saying Derek Carr was really good, but everything that's happened at the Raiders, it just kind of moves Derek Carr down in a lot of people's minds. But to the question that's on the screen, where does Derek Carr end up? I mean, this one is extremely tough because of the fact, for one thing, Derek Carr, does he want to go to a location that he will be the starter? Because of the fact he could go somewhere and not even be the starter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of it because people just don't think he's any good. And I completely disagree. I think he is a good quarterback, not a top-tier quarterback, but he is a good quarterback. But he's lost a lot of fanfare around the league because of how bad the Raiders have been, and he's gotten a lot of the blame, even though, again, it's not all of his fault. But really, it's going to come down to with Derek Carr, when he decides on a team or a team decides on him, does he want to be the starting quarterback? Because if he does, that eliminates a lot of options. But if he's going to go to be the backup, any team could call his name. So you got to think about if he wants to start, what are his options?
Yeah, I think I think it's funny because if we talk about any quarterbacks leaving their current NFL teams, depending on the player, to your point, the Colts are always a viable option, at least until the draft. And, it's like the thing and maybe Carr's a good fit in Indy, but for me, the thing that I would rather see them draft a quarterback or sign a UDFA is because if you go after someone that's been in the league, we've already seen how it plays out 3 times. twice with older people, once with a quarterback who's already past his prime and just needs to get out of here. But I mean, as much as I'm trying to say Indy needs to just stay away from current QBs and draft someone, it's more likely that they will pick up someone like Derek and draft a good O-line, because that's the other key that people don't think about with Indy is, well, we need a quarterback. Quarterback is the missing piece. Not necessarily, especially for you guys, because I mean, if you look at that entire team, it's like spewing puke everywhere.
Mm. Well, I mean, to your point about the offensive line, I mean, Matt Ryan got destroyed this year. He had no time to throw all season.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're talking about Derek Carr, but I got an interesting question. Would you rather, or do you think it would be better for the Colts if Jimmy Garoppolo is no longer with the 49ers, him or Derek Carr?
Oh, Jimmy, without a doubt. Just draft a decent O-line.
I agree with that. I mean, I think that Jimmy Garoppolo could win some games with the Colts. They need more help, though, like you said, which is why I have a hard time seeing Rodgers going there, because of the fact that they need help. I mean, Derek Carr, I think he would just be more content to start. Aaron Rodgers, I think, would be a guy that if he's going to go somewhere, he wants to win. Like I said, Derek Carr, I could see him going to the Colts because he just wants to play. He wants to start, and, like you said, if they get a good offensive lineman or two, maybe they can win some games. They need to fix some other positions. But, I mean, like I said, it's going to be very interesting with Derek Carr because we don't know what he's thinking right now. I mean, I would assume he wants to start. I mean, he probably sees himself as a starting NFL quarterback. He's been a starter for a decade. So, I mean, he's probably going to want to continue to start. So I could definitely see the Colts being an option. I could, see other, teams that need a quarterback, taking him. Because, I mean, I think that some teams are still going to think he's solid. Again, a lot of teams don't think that he's very good anymore for obvious reasons. But I still think that enough teams are going to want to take a chance on him. But like I said, I mean, if he wants to be a backup quarterback, which I don't think he will, then, I mean, he could go anywhere because he's definitely backup quarterback quality for sure.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be a starter. I think that he's going to go somewhere to be a starter. I could see the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think, to your point, the Colts are more likely to get Derek Carr or Jimmy G rather than Brady or Rodgers, even though we just talked about Rodgers and we talked about Brady possibly going last week. But, I mean, to your point, it's hard to talk about things that aren't factual.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, because, I mean, it could go 100 different ways. You just have no idea what these teams are thinking. I mean, it's like when you have a team that's wanting to draft a quarterback and you're not the number one pick. And the number one pick's usually fairly obvious who it's going to be if it's a quarterback. But if you're like drafting 10th overall or something, and there's like 3 or 4 really solid quarterbacks, and like which one are they going to draft? It's you'd have no idea which angle they're going to take. So with all of these quarterbacks that are potentially in flux, where they're going to go, you just have no idea whether they're going to go. And in some instances, you don't even know if they're going to go.
Yeah.
Because if they don't leave, then none of it even matters because they're staying, they're stopped, where they're currently at. But like with Derek Carr, we know he's leaving. So, I mean, it's just where is he going to go? Jimmy Garoppolo, it's more than likely. With Rodgers and Brady, you just don't know, especially Brady. Rodgers, it seems more likely, like you said, because of the fact that all the events that happened at the end of that game. It's very possible. But with Brady, I know it's insane to say it, but I really think what happens in these playoffs matters. I really do. And to your point, what happens with Rodgers and Brady is going to affect other decisions made by these other teams. where these guys are going to go is going to be a lot more clear once one of the dominoes fall, if they fall.
Absolutely. I think we pretty much touched on everything we can for these. So I guess we will see everybody next time. Everybody have a great day, and keep a lookout on all the speculation, the NFL, and hopefully the Buccaneers win tonight so I can stay undefeated in the picks. But yeah, everybody have a great night, and we will see you next time.
We'll definitely be here to break all the moves down when they happen.
Oh, yes, most definitely.